Hello everyone, welcome to Build Fix, episode number 26. This series is supposed to be about helping people choose the parts to build a PC with, because that can be a little tough sometimes, but it's even harder right now because of the ongoing shortage with memory and SSDs in particular being in short supply. You've probably heard about that. So this series, as well as my price watch series, has become more about keeping an eye on things so we can see when they hopefully get better. But that does not mean that there are no builds to fix today, so with a big thank you to PCPartPicker for sponsoring this series, let's get started. Today's video is brought to you by the Paul's Hardware store on paulshardware.net, the only official source for Paul's Hardware merchandise. Tantalizing t-shirts, brilliant beer sets, high-quality hoodies, and more, all featuring the classic thumbscrew for tasteful and refined viewers, or the 8-bit thumbscrew for tasteful and refined viewers who hate curves. New designs are added sporadically and at random, so head over to paulshardware.net and get some of that sweet, sweet merch right now. Or not right now, after you watch the video. Either way. So Build Fix starts as always with a community post. If you want to keep tabs on that, consider subscribing to my channel, of course, and you might get them in your feed, but you can click on the posts tab, and that should bring you to the most recent one. My request for April is, of course, a little bit of a spring theme. The builds I'm fixing were picked from the comments down below. I want to say a big thank you to everyone who chimed in with a comment or a build. And the results for my seasonal April-themed poll are bees. Everyone seems to appreciate bees the most, with 45% of the votes. It looks like right now, at least, caterpillars are slightly edging out ladybugs, but ants, of course, coming in last. As Blackjack6259 said, tough choice between the bumblebee and the ladybug, because ladybugs eat bad insects like aphids, and bumblebees pollinate, so very important. Anyway, I'm also aware that Gamers Nexus pointed out my balloon twisting skills recently, so this is the best I got for you right now, because I'm on a little bit of a time crunch. But don't worry, I will continue to include balloon twisting in my videos wherever possible, in a sensible sort of fashion, of course. Let's get to the first question from Nozizaki, who says, I would like to see an honest attempt at the PC that you would recommend building right now. Very good question, as opposed to my typical not honest attempts, of course. But Nozizaki points out Micro Center having some good deals. If you have a Micro Center close to you, that's definitely a source that I would highly recommend. They've got the 7600X 3D for $200, at least at their local one, 9070 XT for under $700. Of course, that's the DDR5 prices that are keeping a lot of people from upgrading right now. All right, so we're gonna start with a fresh parts list on PCPartPicker. PCPartPicker does not list Micro Center prices, but it's a good way to check and see what's available in the broader ETL market to make sure if you do have access to a Micro Center that you are getting a good deal. The other thing to note is that there are some CPUs that are exclusive to some retailers, or at least more difficult to find on the broader retail market. The 7600X 3D is totally one of those. It's a 6-core, but it has 3D V-cache, so it's a great solution for an AM5 build where you don't have to spend as much as you'd have to spend on something like a 9800X 3D. Of course, if you're building on AM5, then you're going to need DDR5 memory, and that's really the big question for me right now. If I'm recommending a PC that someone is going to build right now, is do you save some money, go with last generation parts and DDR4 memory, and that's definitely the way to go if you're looking to save money. And if you want to do that, I'd say check out last month's build fix. I put together a system for about $900 using the AM4 platform and DDR4 memory, and I believe the Ryzen 5 5500 CPU. When it comes to AM5 builds right now, I'm pretty hesitant because of those memory prices. But Nozizaki specifically called out Micro Center and the $200 7600X 3D. So I'm gonna go with that, and I'm gonna go with the 9070 XT, and I'm totally gonna cheat by adding the 7600X 3D to our parts list, clicking this little gear over here, and manually entering the price. You can also add a link to a specific merchant if you want, but that will give us our 7600X 3D for $200. And this is the compromise we're looking at today in order to build an AM5 system without having to overspend. Also note, if you're shopping on Micro Center, you can choose which store you're shopping at. And oh look, they even have a little store layout guide right there and everything. Cool. One of the other advantages of Micro Center is that they have lots of combo deals, and that is absolutely what I would say you should take advantage of right now. If you don't have access to a Micro Center, Newegg has some fantastic combo deals that pop up from time to time as well. But getting that combination CPU, motherboard, and memory right now is going to be the way to not have to pay $350 or $400 plus for a 32GB memory kit. Although you should note that with these kits Micro Center is pitching, they're often going with a 16GB DDR5 memory solution, which is fine. That'll get you by for now until hopefully memory prices come back down. All right, so I'm going to go with this combo. It's got the 16GB G.Skill Flare X memory kit. It's DDR5 6000. It's also a single stick, and on the minus side, that means you're not going to have a dual channel DDR5 setup, but on the plus side, it means you can get hopefully another one of these sticks a little bit further down the line to upgrade your memory to 32 gigs and enable dual channel. We also have a pretty reasonable Asus B650E motherboard. This single stick of memory is $235 if you buy it by itself at Micro Center. That is actually the same price that PCPartPicker has it listed for at Newegg. Looks like this motherboard comes in all white as well, but it's about $150. The black version is also listed. I'm gonna use that one. And then I'm gonna go ahead and cheat with our memory price to make this combo here, $350 as you would pay at Micro Center. From there, we can fill out the rest of the build. I'm gonna go with a sensible air cooler from Thermalright, as is pretty common. The Phantom Spirit's a good one. Peerless Assassin, also good. That's a couple dollars cheaper, but the Phantom Spirit has slightly better performance. You can go with the RGB or the non-RGB one. I'm gonna go non-RGB just to keep things classy. The next big challenge we have to get past is choosing some storage. Woo-hoo-hoo. We should throw in an 8TB Samsung for $2,300. That's totally sensible. All right, if you're going to Micro Center for that combo, then you probably want to check out their SSD prices as well. They might have a broader combo that includes SSDs. But you know, I feel like I cheated already with Micro Center pricing so far, so we're just gonna go with a listed SSD on PCPartPicker, looking at M.2 2280 form factor NVMe drives. Sorting by the cheapest price per gigabyte, we have an HP 250 gig drive for $28. And honestly, that would get you up and running. That's enough for a Windows operating system and a handful of other things. But more practically, we want to go with probably a 1TB drive right now if you're not planning on spending $200 or more on your storage. I would totally opt for the Seagate FireCuda for $115, but that is out of stock. So looking for, where's the next closest 1TB drive? Let's use the filtering tools to help us out. Capacity between 750 and 1200 gigs. That is gonna give us 1TB drives. Cheapest option is 132 right now for our Silicon Power option. This Silicon Power drive is also a Gen 3 drive, so it's not going to be super fast. Silicon Power is very kind in not providing the read and write speeds directly on their website, but Newegg has it. Anyway, read and write speeds are not the end-all be-all in terms of SSD performance, but it is something that I'd take a glance at if I'm comparing between two very similarly priced drives. And between the two of these, I would just go with that Silicon Power option. Okay, finishing things off with a graphics card, we have the 9070 and 9070 XT, which are the higher-end AMD current generation options. Cheapest 9070 is about $620 right now. That's probably a better bet if you're trying to stick to a budget. And the 9070 XT option is close to $100 more. The cheapest one there is $700. And that is honestly a tough choice between both of those. Nvidia doesn't have a lot of competition with their current generation in the $600 to $700 price range because the 5070 Ti 16 gig has gone way up in price. The RTX 5070 is in this price range. You can find them in that price range, but then you only get 12 gigs of VRAM instead of 16. And especially if you want to do any crossover work like doing local AI or that sort of thing, having more VRAM is great. And also having more VRAM is great if you're going to be gaming on a higher resolution and or higher refresh rate monitor. So to keep our price down, I'm going to go with the 9070 non-XT, which still gives you 16 gigs of VRAM and is $620. It's a bit of a toss-up between the ASRock and the XFX here. I'm just going to go with the ASRock somewhat arbitrarily. Then we need a case and a power supply. A case is very subjective as long as you have a full-size ATX case. You can go with whatever has reasonable performance. Maybe a case that ships with some fans already included so you don't have to add additional fans for better cooling, or a case that you just like the look of. The case is very much an aesthetic choice. Something like the Eclipse G500A is great because it comes with fans pre-installed and it looks like it's available with a mail-in rebate. It takes it down to $60 at Newegg. Montech has some solid options in this range. Thermaltake as well. The case I often add in this series is the Phanteks XT Pro because that's kind of my established $50 to $60 solid case. It's a good case, I've built in it before. But of course, as mentioned, cases are very subjective, so feel free to swap in something else. Lastly, we need a power supply. PCPartPicker gives you an estimated wattage for your build based on the parts you've added. It's at 389 watts right now. If you don't know how much wattage you should go for your power supply, look at the graphics card that you're building with, or perhaps a graphics card that you aspire to upgrade to someday, and look at the minimum recommended wattage for that. Usually it's going to be between 550 and 750 watts. You can go with that, or you can up it by 50 to 100 watts to give yourself a little bit more headroom, but you don't really need to go much beyond that. Last thing you might want to look for is a 12V2x6 native connector if you're going for an Nvidia graphics card. And if you can find a power supply that sort of meets all those criteria, 750 watts, good wattage, we have 80+ gold certification, so it's reasonably efficient. Adding some filters to sort of match up with that, looking at other options in that price range, and I'm not seeing a whole lot else that stands out to me. There is a power supply tier list that is maintained by the Zach's Tech Turf community. That is linked down in the video description if you want to cross-compare the power supply you're choosing and make sure it has has reasonably good ratings, because there are some that absolutely do not. Pevia is one that typically does not have very good ratings for their power supplies, for example. But all right, I've opted for this MSI Mag 750 watts for just shy of $90. That brings our total price for this build in at $1,280, which seems very good to me given that we have an X3D processor we're building on AM5. Of course, a lot of that is because we are theoretically getting an AM5 combo over at Micro Center. But I was asked for my honest recommendation right now, and my honest recommendation would be to go to Micro Center, or as a secondary option, check Newegg combo deals if you're trying to get that CPU, memory, plus maybe one or two other components combo, because that's one of the best ways to actually get a reasonably priced system at this point in time. Thank you, Nozazaki, for your question. Next up, we have Max LC3 with a current setup and a PC part picker list. I appreciate that. If you're gonna send me a list in the comments, make sure you set the list to public so I can use it. Max has an existing system and $500 for an upgrade. What should I get? Potentially upgrade to AM5, upgrade the video card, maybe that 5800X3D re-release. And Max has a Micro Center near to them in Overland Park, Kansas. So that helps. Yes, it does. And if you hadn't noticed, I've actually chosen the Overland Park store location because of Max's comment. But all right, here's the parts list we're looking at right now. This is the existing PC, and I chose this because there might be a fair amount of you in this situation. You're currently on an AM4 platform. You're like, I would like to upgrade, like the part of me that likes to upgrade my PC is ready to upgrade, but does it make sense right now? The number one things I would look at would be the CPU, and we have a sensible 5600X 6-core paired with an RTX 2080 Super graphics card. We also have this Corsair 32GB DDR4 3200 memory kit, so that is currently a very valuable item to have in your repertoire. And my initial response looking at this list is that I feel like you have a pretty solid, balanced, well-rounded system, because your graphics card, the 2080 Super, is actually paired up pretty nicely with your 5600X. You could probably find certain situations, certain benchmarks where the 5600X is holding back the 2080 Super a bit, but if you wanted to upgrade, I would say it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to upgrade your CPU without upgrading your graphics card, and that is because from the 5600 XT, your only real significant upgrades that are going to get you more performance out of your graphics card are going to be an X3D processor on the AM4 platform. There's a 5600X3D, a 5700X3D, and a 5800X3D, and all of them are pretty tough to find right now. Micro Center isn't listing any of them in stock. Oh yeah, there's also the 5500X3D, but it doesn't matter because none of them are listed here. None of them are available at Micro Center. I believe you might be able to find something at like AliExpress. Like GameStop supposedly had 5800X3Ds for $200 at some point recently, but they appear to be all out of stock. So AMD does seem, it's a rumor still, but it seems somewhat legit that they're going to re-release a 5800X3D as a 10th anniversary of AM4 edition. So if you want to hold out for like a month or two and just sort of see how that goes, see what price they launch it at. If they launch it at something sensible like $200 or even $250, then you could jump on that. It would be a very sensible in-place upgrade. It would probably get a little bit more performance out of your 2080 Super, and then it would also open up the door for you to maybe upgrade that 2080 Super to something from the 40 series or 50 series or the AMD Radeon 9000 series. But part of the reason I picked your build was so that I could look at it, assess it, and then tell you that you're just fine. And I feel like for the time being, you should save that $500, maybe keep an eye on those potential relaunches of like the 5800X3D, or keep an eye out for like a 5700X3D or even a 5600X3D to come back in stock. Or if you're just really itching to build something right now, then look back to the first build that I did in this video, because that would be my recommendation right now if you wanted to upgrade to AM5. And since you've got that Micro Center close to you, you can actually do that without spending a crazy amount of money. That $350 combo would be a good way to go. You would cut the amount of RAM you have in half, but that would give you a lot more potential for future upgrades on AM5, as well as pairing it, of course, with an upgraded graphics card. Okay, final comment here from Proteus E. Hey Paul, I've got a very good PC, but a crappy monitor I want to upgrade. Would value your advice. Currently rocking a Sony M9 II 4K 144Hz panel. Looking for OLED 240. Fabulous, and you've got a really good build right now with a 9800X3D and RTX 5080, 32 gigs of DDR5. And I know I'm kind of cheating because this isn't a build, but I included this as the final entry today because for people who are like, I feel like I want to upgrade something, but maybe a recommendation is not to upgrade your PC. Monitors are not insanely overpriced, and PCPartPicker lists monitors as well here. So we're gonna go by your recommendation. We're gonna sort out for various OLED variants that are on the market. The other filters we're gonna add are screen size. I believe the M9 II is 27 inch. I'm not sure if there's other variants of that, but I'd say 27 inches is fine, especially if you like that pixel density at 4K. 32-inch 4K is a nice sweet spot for me as well though, so I'm gonna look at those. We're gonna stick to 4K resolution. Ultra wide is also something I would say to keep an eye on if you're in the market. And we'll pin that refresh rate to 240 Hertz at minimum. Going up from there, and the cheapest option is, well, not quite as cheap as I would like it to be, but we are looking specifically at OLED panels. If you're looking for a monitor upgrade that has most of these specs, but you wanna pay less money, like say more like between $300 and $500, you're either gonna need to drop the resolution to 2560 by 1440, and there's no shame in that, or you're going to need to try out other panel types besides OLED, because OLED still does command a bit of a premium. It's not as bad as it used to be. But all right, down at the budget range, we have the ASRock Phantom Gaming OLED for $720. So if you're trying to save some cash, go for that. MSI has several options. Their MAG series is more budget oriented. Their MPG series is a little bit higher end. I deal with monitors pretty regularly, but I do not regularly review monitors. So the Monitors Unboxed channel, which is a side channel of the Hardware Unboxed channel, is a great solution for that. Or if you're looking at a specific monitor SKU, and they're all pretty random with like names like 272URX. But you can look that up and look for specific reviews on your monitor. Look for one from a reputable tech review outlet. Among these, if you want that better pixel density with a 27-inch display, the MSI MAG right here for $730 is a good choice. And Acer makes quite solid monitors as well, the Predator X32. A little bit more money, but you're gonna up to a 32-inch size. You've even got a little bit of curvature there as well. That's the other thing you need to keep in mind. This is also a quantum dot OLED panel. The last thing I wanted to do was check real quick if we drop that resolution to 2560 by 1440, how much the price comes down. So here, very solid budget choice for $400. The Acer Predator X27U goes all the way up to 280 Hertz. Really nice set of features on this monitor. Looks like reviews are not horrible. And if you're checking reviews, you know, you always want to look for those standout like bad reviews. And if it's a review for like something that didn't work right on the monitor, those I would take with a grain of salt. If you get a functional unit, you're probably not going to be upset like this person was. This person is saying it has an annoying pop-up that comes up all the time. So that's something to consider as well. But all right, as you can see, there are tons and tons of monitor options, and I could totally get into the weeds with this and it would take a lot of time, but that is my quick recommendation for you if you're looking for a new monitor. In terms of like staying positive with the PC hardware space right now, I'd say monitors are definitely a bright spot. You can get really good panels for not a whole lot of money, and a lot of technology that used to cost well over $1,000 like OLED has come down to be much more within the price range of a lot of people. But that is all the time I have for today. I want to say a big thank you to PCPartPicker for sponsoring this series, and a big thank you to those of you who went and responded to my community posts. It's very tough to choose which of those posts to respond to, but if you want to join in next month, then definitely consider subscribing to my channel. And you can also check out the links below where I'll link the PCPartPicker lists that I went over today, the relevant parts, and a link to my store at paulshardware.net where you can help support my channel by getting yourself some high quality merchandise like shirts, mugs, and pint glasses. Thank you guys once again for watching. We'll see you all in the next video.